Hello, my fallen ones, and welcome to another Shen Pe Uts Taa-Neter production. I am your hostess and storyteller, Shen Pe. And before I get started, I just hope that everyone has been having a really good holiday in spite of all of the chaos that has been going on. I really hope that you got to spend time with the people that matters most to you in your life, because that's what it's all about. Family. Family is everything. But I don't want you to get it misconstrued what family is, because like I said in my last one of my last videos, winter is here. Just because you're related does not make you family. And for me, family is everything. Family is everything. And I just want to say that the most important thing you can do is protect your loved ones from toxic people. And I reiterate that just because you're related, it does not mean that you're family. And I want to bring that to a quote that says, blood is thicker than water. And, you know, when used in this context of family over friends, it's just, in fact, a widely incorrect bastardization. The true and full quote is, the blood of the convent is thicker than the water of the womb. And this refers to relationships forged by choice, holding deeper meaning than those of mere biology. So now that I got that out the way, I want to begin with speaking about the Kwanzaa and the fraud and con of Kwanzaa, which was pushed into the Black community. And I want to relate that to the systematic abuse of Black women that's systematic or shit-stematic, and it's institutionalized, just like racism is institutionalized. The abuse of Black women is institutionalized. As a matter of fact, I believe that there are some women now trying to sign petitions or get politicians to make a law that will actually make Black women in America, or American Black women, a protected class. And there are a lot of things, well, not a lot of things, but the things that I know that are institutionalized are slavery, which, you know, American slavery is an institution. And there's, you know, if you need to know more about that, you can look up Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. They speak about that all the time for your political education. Well, slavery is an institution, and you can even see right now, because the federal government is like dismantling the Constitution, so as to make everybody like slave-like, where they're threatening people's livelihoods in order to get the invasion of the body snatchers. Like, they're saying, if you don't get the invasion of the body snatchers, we're taking away your like human right, basically, to provide for and take care of your family, your loved ones. Like, they don't care. So anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Racism is institutionalized, or they wouldn't be asking us about what color are you on your application when you apply for a mortgage or when you apply for a job. There was a lot of stories done with couples, whether they were interracial couples, like a black wife and a white husband, or just a regular black couple that would try to sell their homes. And because the appraiser would see, pictures of black people in the house, it was appraised at like lower, much, much drastically and dramatically lower quotes than when they decided to just take all the black pictures out of the house and have someone else appraise it. I'm going by this video that I saw on YouTube, and the wife was black and the husband was white. So they took out all of her side of the family photos and just left his in, and it was appraised for about $200,000 more than it originally was. So yeah, there's still redlining. All of that still exists. And it's unfortunately another thing I learned, on my travels, is that the only people that call themselves white are the ones that are here in America. Like, but when you go outside of the country, they consider themselves European. They call themselves European. If they're not claiming their identity as a Spaniard or as an Italian or as a Grecan, as a Russian, they consider themselves European. I've never heard them call themselves white. I've just never heard them identify themselves as that. I only heard people here in this country do that. And the funny thing is that even with all of that, the people in England, the British, like traditionally, they think anybody who is not British is just a barbarian. So, but that's another story. But before I begin, I probably said too much already that could get me into a lot of trouble. But before I begin, I just want to make the following disclaimer. You have the right to remain vacuous. Everything you do not know can and will be used against you, most likely for profit. I am a storyteller, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. So I don't want to really make this too long, but I just want to make this connection, and I want to use Kwanzaa as an example, because it's a holiday. And there's a lot of Black American families that celebrate it, and it's been institutionalized. I mean, you can even get a stamp from the post office that has Kwanzaa on it, And I just want to say about the person who started this whole mess. He changed it. He was born Ronald McKinley Everett in July 14, 1941. And you can Google this. And then he changed his name to Maulana Karenga. And he's a professor of African studies, I believe, at a university in Los Angeles, currently in 2021. Okay, and he was a Pan-Africanist and the creator of the so-called African American holiday of Kwanzaa. Well, to make a long story short, he was convicted in 1971 of felony assault, torture, and false imprisonment. Of course, he denied involvement and claimed the prosecution was in political nature. And on that note, I'm dropping a link in the description about a whole FBI investigation report that was done on him, I think like in the 60s. So that link is there. I'm also dropping a link. It's about 12 years old, from a Chicago writer, and he goes into the fraud and scam of Kwanzaa. Okay, so this dude, he denied involvement in the crime and said that it was political in nature, but he was sent to prison in California until he received parole in 1975. Now, aside from this, he has a long criminal record, and a real look in his history finds that he already served time in jail for assault before this conviction. But then, while he was in jail, he changed his name to Ron Karenga and began this, pseudo African costume and act the part of a native African, even though he was born here in America. And, it wasn't just mere assault that he was convicted of. It was sexual assault and torture that he perpetrated against some of his own female followers. Now, I remember about 12 years ago when I was doing this research, maybe 12 or 13 years ago when I was doing this research, because I never celebrated Kwanzaa. I didn't bring my sons up with that crap. And I remember when I was researching it, it was reported that one of the tortures that he did was place a hot, smoldering curling iron in a woman's vagina, or iron, a hot, smoldering iron. I don't think it was curling iron. I don't remember, but I do remember, I have it in my notes. That it was a hot, smoldering iron, and he put it in a woman's vagina. And he used something to crush another woman's toe. Now, when I look back and I tried to find, when I had those in my notes, and then when I come to the present day in 2021, and I tried to find these things on the internet, it seems like it changed. And I'm thinking that has a lot to do with the alternate timeline that I'm presently on, what everybody call a Mandela effect, but it's Inan is not. But I'm saying that to say that on this timeline, it wasn't that he put the iron in her vagina. On this timeline, it says that he put it in her mouth. But either way it goes, this dude is a criminal. On this timeline and on the last timeline, he's a criminal, and he doesn't respect black women. Obviously, he tortured the people in his own group, So, as of today, he's the chair of the African Studies Department at California State University in Long Beach. And in 2002, scholar Molefi, well, I know him as Asante. I remember back in the day when, my youthful days when I was at Medgar Evers College, a predominantly black college and named after Medgar Evers, in the City University in Brooklyn. He was like a real, Molefi Asante was like a hero to us back then, but that was in my youthful days. That's before I knew any better. He was the chair of the African Studies Department at Temple University. And he also, not only was he the chair, but he actually petitioned the college to come up with that department, African Studies. It used to be African American Studies, but now it's like Africana Studies, and it was like the only college or university, and Temple University has a good reputation, and it was the only one in the country that I believe offered a PhD program in Africana or African American studies at that time. I'm not sure about now, but I knew back in my youthful days, back in the early 80s, the late 80s and early 90s. I was just coming out of my teenage years in the late 80s. So I know back in my youthful days, he was, he was very popular in the what everybody knows now as the conscious community. But things were so much different then. I don't want to get off point, but I think I probably need to. Things were so much different then. It wasn't like these pseudo conscious people are here. Back then, I was involved. That's when Dr. John Henry Clark was still giving lectures for free in the community at the Slave Theater in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. Who else? Leonard Jeffries were doing free lectures there. Dr. Ben, we called him, is Dr. Yo Harkin, but we call him Dr. Ben. He gave lectures there, and Dr. Van Sertima, he also gave lectures at the Slave Theater, and a lot of them gave lectures at Medgar Evers College too. At that time, Dr. John Henry Clark was the chair of the Black and Puerto Rican Studies Department at Hunter College, which is also a part of the City University system. And he gave a lecture. You can actually find that here on YouTube. It's called The Million Man March in False Leadership. And it's crazy how he gave that lecture in the 80s. But it's like, I don't know, people either have amnesia and when I'm saying people, I'm talking about African Americans or Black Americans or American Blacks, ADOS people. It's like, I don't know if they have amnesia or what, or they just don't have any type of discernment in terms of, like, it seems like they follow people who are toxic and who don't really mean them any good. They're like a glutton for punishment, sort of like a sick S&M type of relationship with these people that they follow, like, for real. Like, they love the punishment and abuse. I just don't understand it. But back then, they were giving lectures for free. You didn't have to pay like $50 to go and see Dr. Ben or Dr. Clark or Dr. Van Sertima go and speak. And that was mainly because of the Black student unions within the City University of New York. And even the student governments, I'm going to say, because I was also a part, you had the student government of the college or the university, then you had the University Student Senate, and I was involved in both. And let me tell you, the budget for the University Student Senate, boy, I tell you, I remember one time the New York, I think it was the Daily News, the New York Post, they had us on the front page talking about like we was like, the makings of future New York City politicians. We had, the makings of it. Like we were little junior execs, but we did have it was like more than $1 million back then. That was our budget. But out of that budget, besides taking a lot of trips and having a lot of fun, we did provide the community with Black lectures or Black history lectures, We provided that. So either the Slave Theater was very popular for that in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. But also we did it at the colleges. You could go to like certain colleges like Medgar Evers, Hunter College, York College, Baruch College, even City College. They used to have the Assata Shakur Center up there, and they finally took that out of there, I think back in around the mid-2000s. They took that out But I remember going to City College and meeting up with other students right there in that center, in Assata Shakur Center, okay? That's where we used to meet at. But yeah, we could go to City College, you know, Hunter. It was a couple of colleges where the community, they didn't have to be a student. It didn't matter what age they were. You know, we provided for these lectures for them, and we used our budget to do that. I don't know what's going on now. It's a mess. And it's really very sad to see everything just deteriorate the way it has. I was a part of that. I was a part of that whole thing. I was a part of that whole thing. And, you know, we thought that we were helping, but when I looked, you know, then the crack came out. It was just a mess. It was just a mess. But I'm just saying that to say that Malafe Kite Asante, he, you know, he was like almost a hero to us back then. But in 2002, he listed Karenga in his list of 100 greatest African Americans. I think this is a book that he wrote, and he probably doesn't have any women in there. You know, now that I think about it, I've never read it. What I did read was a book that came out. Well, I didn't read it until much later, but it's a book that came out in 2001, right before Asante publishes this 100 greatest African Americans, and probably barely had any women in it. Don't take my word for it. You know, you can find out yourself. I just never read the book. But what I did read, and it wasn't until like 2000, maybe 11, 2010 that I read it, is a book by Michael Porter, who I believe is a white person. And he published this book in 2001, and it was called The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women. Now, I don't know why, but that book didn't come around to me. It didn't surface to me until around like 2010, 2011. But I did read a book of his like around 2000, after I gave birth to my last child. Right after I gave birth, and it was called Kill Them Before They Grow, Misdiagnosis of African American Boys in American Classrooms. Now, he wrote that in 1998. That was right after I had my first son. That was in 1998. And I read that book like around 2000. And I'm going to say that, again, that was by Michael Porter. And I believe he's a Caucasian. And I say that I read that book, and it really helps a lot. I was very involved and active in my son's education. And I didn't wait for a parent-teacher conference to communicate with them, to find out how they were doing, what they needed to do, how to improve, blah, blah, blah. I didn't wait for that. I communicated with these teachers, and every time they graduated, there was always a teacher that both of their teachers always told me, I just wish that, you know, I could meet more parents like you. Like, thank you, you know, so, like, they were like kind of embarrassing me, you know. I was kind of embarrassed with that, but I was just very active from pre-K all the way through graduation of high school, you know. And college, it was a little different because, you know, as you're not allowed to, you know, even know your children's grades and stuff like that at that point. But I still had my ways to find out and do things, you know. But I'm saying that to say that it's just a coincidence. I just read that book, The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women. And in that book, he talks about institutions, you know, that are the demise of Black women. Now, institutions does not necessarily mean like the welfare agency. I mean, it is the welfare agency or the human resources department, among other things, but institutions are also families in church. The family is the first institution, okay? And then you have the churches, and then from there, because the church and state is separate in this country, but as far as Black people are concerned, their first institution is family, and then the church, and then the outside institutions outside of that. The criminal justice system, the what is that? The child welfare system, the juvenile justice system, HRA, Human Resources Department, things like that, right? So I want to say briefly that Karenga, even though he served time for abusing these women in his and torturing and sexual assaulting these women in his own following, he gets to come out after parole, and he gets to live a normal life. He gets to put on a dashiki. He gets to throw on the leather medallions that they used to wear back in the day with kid and play and everything like that. He gets to do all of this and come out here and talk about Kwanzaa with 7 principles that's in Swahili. I'm not sure what they are, but you can research that. Those are still the same. That didn't change. Only his method of torture changed on the alternate timeline. But either way it goes, he still gets to come out here and create. It's just amazing to me how he gets to come out here and create, after doing all of this dirty, he gets to come out here and create something for a people that, are just so eager to eat it and swallow it up. And I'm thinking, because, I don't know, they're so lost, they don't know. Like somebody's been lying to them and telling them that they've been cut off from their roots or whatever, from, the dark continent, or I don't know what it is. It's like a really bad, I don't know what it is, but these people actually, overlook this criminal and abuser of women like they do today in this so-called conscious community. They do the same thing, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I just wanted to put that out there, that the abuse of Black women, well, there's abuse of women all over the world, but I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking about the women here, because it's like, well, that's a whole nother video, but that abuse is institutionalized. It's institutionalized. And I think I want to suggest that book, The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women by Michael Porter. I also want to suggest another book for reading by Suzar, and I'm also going to drop that link there as well. She has several books, several volumes, but there's one in particular, and I'm kind of surprised that this website kind of made it through to the alternate universe. But there's one in particular that I want you, if you ever get a chance, I don't think it's expensive. It's probably like $5 or $10 for the book. And I say that because once I had suggested a book to someone it was on some research in biology of plants, and I think that book was like about $500, and the person's jaw just dropped. Like, you know, like, you really expect me to spend $500 on a book? But, you know, I got to remember that everybody's not like me. I will spend $500 on a book, okay? But that's besides the point. I don't think this book is $500. It shouldn't be no more than 10. But the author is Suzar, okay? And I think she changed her name because she didn't want to get I'm not sure if it was that chick Ali Shahrazad or something like that, that crazy lady that say black women should get abused. You know, she even wrote a book about it, that black women should get abused. I can't remember the name of the book because she is so insignificant and she's like the weakest link to me. So, like, but she wrote a book about, you know, I think her name was Ali Shahrazad or some crap like that. You know, she one of the Muhammads, as we say in New York, at least back in the old days when we was talking about them people in that, you know, where the people that Malcolm X used to be a part of, that group of people. Well, over here, the old people like myself, the Generation Xers, you know, we refer to them as the Muhammads, okay? So I think she's a Muhammad, but she actually wrote a book about abusing black women, how she should get slapped in her mouth. And man, boy, I wish, boy, I tell you. Anyway, I think this woman had changed her name because she didn't want to get, she didn't want anybody to get misconstrued. I'm saying it like a con man, and screw, like you've been screwed, misconstrued, you know, because words are spelling, you know, words are spells. But I'm going to do a video about that. I think I brought it up before, but I have to do a whole video on that. Words are spells. But I think she didn't want anybody to be misconstrued with who she was. So I think she changed her name. And anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt from her book that I really recommend you to get, and it's on her website. And like I said, I'm going to drop the link. This book is called The Rethroning Creation's Great Black Mama and the Black Woman, the mother of humanity and original most powerful being on earth. And I'm saying this in the spirit of our dark mother who's here now in this beginning sun cycle of the 26,000 year of the divine feminine. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Okay. So it starts out, volume 2 of the 7 volumes of this book resurrects awareness of the great black mama of creation and restores the black feminine part of the equation, which has been blacked out by which has been blacked out the most, even more than Black history. You thought the black male was the endangered species. No, it's the black woman and her precious womb. The overt attack on the black man is really a covert attack on the black woman. The ongoing great wars on the great mother and the female principle is why women of all races on all continents are being oppressed, repressed, suppressed, aggressed, depressed, demeaned, sexually assaulted, subjugated, and even killed, often before birth. All sanctioned, promoted, facilitated by the anti-female, patriarchal, counterfeit religions. Remember in my last video, I told you that the patriarch is a myth, and I'm going to continue that because it is a myth. The greatest she puts the greatest motherfucking weapon against all women, and in reality, all humanity. Now, remember also in my last video, I told you that mankind, humankind are four totally, entirely different entities. And, you know, for the purposes of my video, I'm speaking on humanity and humans, okay? Humans. All right. Not man, not mankind, and not humankind. I'm speaking about humans, because right now in this reality, this is their time. This is the time of the humans. This is their history moving forward. So, okay, I'm sorry. So, I'm going to continue. The black woman mother of humanity is the original most powerful being on earth. Her powers have been largely co-opted to serve the beast in unexpected, unrecognized ways. See item number 13 in You Come to Power for one major example. The black woman is out of her mind, for she is in a spell. Actually, the whole planet is in the great ghost spell, the great grip of the global piezo spell machine. If this spell is not broken soon, we, humanity, Earth, will arrive where we are being furiously herded to. Extinction, obliteration. The black woman, the mother of humanity, unknowingly holds the key to humanity's salvation. Rethroned in creation's great black mama and mother of humanity, the black woman is the key to the survival of humanity, all people, all life on earth and planet Earth. And then she puts other topics addressed in this book are: 1, the Black Feminine Foundation of Civilization and Culture. Dr. John Henrik Clarke would always stress that the black women were the founders of civilization, of culture, of the institution of family, of the sciences, you know, especially chemistry. And even Baba Credo Mutwa would always stress, you know, that women were the foundation of everything. And okay, so I'm going to continue. The next topic addressed is female biological superiority. Is it fact or fiction? Next, the sexual foundation of religion. Next, why pussy is the name for a cat and vagina. Next, African extraterrestrial legacy. Next, black people from outer space, founders of legendary super civilizations. Next, the Willie Lynch and other notable motherfuckers. In his campaign against melanin, Willie Lynch specifically targeted the black woman's mind. Next, the great mother's precious gift of black melanin. Next, how the albino reptilian controllers stay fat off her black power. Next, disguised star science, astrology, astronomy is still the global religion. So that's the end of that right there. So I'm going to tell you that Suzar she's a priestess, you know, in my sense, she's a priestess of the Dark Mother. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You should, if you can, take the time to read that. Also follow my videos, because although I do talk on some of the key points that she does, because, well, I do talk on some of the key points, but a lot of my information are like it's like oracleized, or maybe even, you know, from it's my cellular memories, my cellular information waking up, so I'm able to share this. Okay. And I just want to leave it at that. I just want to say that you know, Kwanzaa is a farce, it's a fraud, and it's just another way to keep the systematic and institutionalization of the abuse of Black women, you know, and it's just sad. It's a lot going on. I know I remember when I used to be on American Online, like back in the day. I remember like there was a chat forum of Black women that used to talk about having their children taken away from them by the Child Protective Services, and not because these children were being, you know, physically abused or anything, but because these mothers, you know, couldn't afford to pay their light bill, sent their children to school without socks. You know, they would get taken out of their homes. That's abuse. That's abuse. And there's some other instances, but I'm not going to talk about, because to me it's like just really depressing. But I think that Black women should really get to know who they are. And I'm speaking in particular to the women here, the American Black women, because I mean, I don't want to get myself in trouble for saying this, but I did make a disclaimer earlier, right? This video is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm just a storyteller, right? But I'm just going to say that American Black women are the most evolved out of the entire, because we're not a homogenous people, right? We're not a homogenous people. We're not a monolith, and we're not homogenous, right? Like the Japanese are homogenous, the Chinese are homogenous, right? We're not like that. But we are still all connected to the same roots, you know, but we're just different branches on that tree. Branches, limbs, all of that. So out of all of the branches and limbs on the tree, we are the most evolved here. The American Black women, okay? Out of their group of Black people, they are the most evolved of, I would say, Black women on the entire planet. It's us. Because if you look at it, I mean, I don't know if anybody hasn't been outside past their backyard or off of their block, like we would say here in New York, you know. I don't know, but, you know, when I go around the world, I see these women emulating us. They are emulating us, okay? They are emulating Black women in America. They are emulating us. And this is all over the world. The continent of Africa, you know, in the Latin American countries, in the Caribbean countries, in South America, they're emulating us. Okay? And I would say that, you know, we are the most evolved out of the group. We are the most evolved. And, right. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to come back because I still have the other parts to the other videos, the myth of the patriarch and all of that to finish up on. None of this is in this book. This is just her interpretation of everything that's going on. And I'm just giving mine. So, see you until next time. Everybody take care. Keep your loved ones away from toxic people. And Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to everyone. And I'll see you soon. Later.